what you want, when you want it, where you want it. This is The Mesh.
Welcome to I Guess I'll Do It with Pat House. I am Pat House, and on this podcast I will talk to mostly comedians, but probably some musicians and other creative people as well about their early influences, what got them to where they are today, and when they had their I Guess I'll Do It moment where they decided to dive into their creative endeavor. So thank you for listening, and here we go. Welcome to I Guess I'll Do It with Pat House, and today we have JoAnn Schinderle.
Hello.
Sorry, the pandemic, there's no studio audience today. On this podcast, which this is my first interview, by the way, so congratulations. Welcome to the big time. I am just going to talk about comics, about their interest in comedy, and getting to their very first time on stage and focusing on that first set. Now, we've been buddies for quite some time, but we never crossed paths, so it's cool to catch up this weekend and hang out. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of the beauty of comedy. A lot of times you're just ships in the night. You know, you're friends and you text and you see social media, but you don't actually get some face-to-face time. So I'm glad we got to do a face-to-face interview because I have a feeling most of this is going to be done online. So here we are at Skyline Comedy Club this weekend, and we're doing this interview face-to-face. So let's just get right to it. Let's talk about your interest in comedy when you were young and start there.
Absolutely. First off, thank you for having me, and thank you for inviting me for this weekend.
By all means. Oh.
When you're like, we're doing this interview face to face, it's like, yes, personal contact. I get
Absolutely.
to look somebody in the eyes, and not have blue fucking light blockers on, or whatever they're called. My comedy journey, I originally just wanted to be Carol Burnett. I was like, hands down, I was obsessed with sketch comedy and Saturday Night Live, and I read Chelsea Handler's book in high school, My Horizontal Life, and it was hilarious, and I was like, I tell stories like this all the time, this is great, I could do it. And then I researched her and saw that she did stand-up, and I was like, oh, what is this? Okay. So that was kind of my long about introduction to stand-up. My parents watched, like, Last Comic Standing, though, like season 1.
Oh, God. That was an epic season.
Oh, my God, right?
That was, oh, my God, Gary Goldman, Kathleen Madigan, Rich Voss, Bonnie, Alonzo Bowden. Like, I'm a real comedy nerd, so I remember all this. But I remember season 1. There was so many people that were on there were, like, you know, they were successful then, but they're significantly famous now.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Kathleen Madigan?
She has a podcast on this network, the same one I'm on.
Really?
Yeah. It's
Shout out.
John Reap, John Heffron, Kathleen Madigan, and myself. I'm the baby on this podcast network.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's a big lineup.
I wonder if any of them would do my podcast.
Probably you're like, hey, we're the family now.
Absolutely. Family does each other's podcast. I think that's the Olive Garden's motto.
When you're here, we're podcasting.
All right, so your interest in the beginning stemmed from a lot of sketch comedy and Carol Burnett. So did Last Comic Standing really show you about stand-up itself?
Yeah, I mean, like, I guess I always thought that stand-up was just, I kind of looked at it as a theater kid's eye of like, oh, this is a monologue. This is just, you write a monologue and you perform a monologue, and that's it. It didn't really register to me that it was like what stand-up, now I know what it all entails and means. But I had an opportunity. I was living in Minneapolis, Minnesota. I graduated college, was a few years out of that, and was like, I want to live somewhere else before I turn 25 or like 30. You know, I was 24 at the time. And randomly, a job opportunity to direct art shows in Portland and Seattle fell in my lap, and I took it, and I ended up moving back home to Wisconsin for like 6 months to get some money to move. And in that 6 months, I just decided I'm going to do stand-up comedy. And I told everybody. I'd been a bartender, and they're like, I know, right? We differ on this.
Dude,
we differ on this.
I am gripping the table with my right hand, and my right leg is shaking. I mentioned it in my episode. I didn't tell people. Like, I couldn't. So, like, I mean, hey, that's your experience. You were happy to tell people. But just hearing that you told people before you even did it, like, I'm gripping this table like I'm getting a Novocaine shot.
And I did it more of like, I wasn't like I'm a stand-up comic, you know. I just kind of was just like, I'm gonna do stand-up comedy, and it just in a way like manifested. And I remember when I told people this, I used the phrase manifest destiny like a whole bunch, and everyone's like, you can't use it. And I was like, I didn't realize what the phrase.
It's really funny.
It's like, I manifest destiny stand-up.
Started doing comedy. It's like the Louisiana Purchase, you know.
It's really wild. I speak a lot of when I don't mean.
So where was your first set? So did you?
Yeah.
Okay, so you decided you want to try stand-up.
Mm-hmm.
How long did you sit with that before you actually got on stage? Did you see open mics
Like
for a
month.
little while? Okay, so
I saw one open mic with my roommate at the time. So I was living in Portland, Oregon. I was directing these art shows. I was like, I'm going to do this. And once you tell people, then you have to. I think subconsciously I said it to make sure I did it.
yeah, I have a friend that moved by telling people he was moving.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, well, shit. If everybody knows I'm moving,
Right.
I have to.
Right. Exactly. So it was the same thing. And then,
It's like a roundabout commitment to yourself.
right.
Yeah.
My very first witnessing of an open mic, seeing live stand-up ever, was at an open mic in RIP Brody Theater in Portland, which was like the spot where everybody came to test out their stuff. It was a really long open mic. I had no idea what I was getting into. My roommate and I we sit in the front. We're like the only two audience members. Of course, everyone shit on us the whole fucking time.
What are you doing here?
Yeah, we were two hot girls.
Yeah, you two lesbians. I can just
Yeah, and they were
imagine
like,
the
"Are you
amount
trying
of.
this?" And I was like, no.
I can only imagine. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. And then you felt obligated to watch the whole fucking thing. And it was an open mic.
In the beginning, you do. Then that
Yeah.
dies down real quick.
Oh, real quick. So we were like, I guess we stay and drink, and then we shared a cigarette outside, and I met, I'll name drop. I met Sean Jordan,
Yeah.
and Shane Torres was in the scene at the time. I met some good people, and then they invited us to a second location to watch another mic because they were making the rounds, and we were like, sure. Psychotic. So we go to the second one. Excuse me.
Wait, so did you perform at the Brody that night, or is this still the show you watched?
No,
Okay,
just the
okay.
show we watched, and then the second one we ended up by the performing area was in the back of the bar, and we didn't know that, so we were both new to town, my roommate and I. So we just stayed at the front bar, and we didn't really know each other, so we ended up getting wasted and getting to know each other's roommates. So it was a beautiful story, but then I was like, I gotta do it. So then I researched, just in Google, open mics Portland, and this place called the Boiler Room. And if anyone knows the Boiler Room, also RIP, it's now Starbucks.
Oh, America.
America. It was 11-year running open mic.
Ooh.
Yeah, 11 years.
Most careers don't last that long.
Right. Yeah. Kevin Michael Moore ran it. It was incredible. It was a Monday night. It was a staple, right? So I picked a good one. But on the website, they had a website. The website made it look like it was a theater. It was this fucking black and white photo, and it was this gentleman, Tynan DeLong, very funny, lives in New York, comic, holding the microphone up, and there's lights around it, and the photo cut off at his shoulders. So it looked, in my mind, I was like, look at those lights. It's a theater. I can do theater. I'd walk into a karaoke bar. Just one microphone in the middle of this karaoke bar with disco lights, and I look and I see the area where those lights were from the picture, and I was like, what the fuck? And now I'm terrified.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm. And I'm like, oh my god.
I know the exact situation you're talking about.
Yeah.
Where the pictures have this it's almost like the mentality of a beach resort. The
Yes.
commercials are crystal clear waters and perfect couples on the beach cuddling in the sand,
and
then
there's
you get there and
algae.
there's homeless people 10 feet behind you, and
Yeah.
people trying to sell you she sells it, you could pick up
You're
all the
right.
yeah.
Right. It's
But
a
it's just that
nightmare.
same thing is tied to entertainment, where bands or comedians get lured into it's that fucking false advertising. That's all it is.
Right. Right. It totally was. And I was like, well, now I have to do it. And now I'm scared because theater, as a theater kid, I know that when you get on stage, you can't see the audience.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, this is actually, I'm going to be fine, And then I show up and I'm like, oh, fuck. And of course, I go up first,
And this is the same night you were at the Brody? This is
a week later.
a week. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you remember the date?
February 20th.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, you could be lying to me. I really don't know.
No, I just know.
You could have totally just.
Facebook memories always pops up.
Okay.
Yeah, stupid, but
Oh, no, absolutely not. I mean,
yeah.
it's
So,
an anniversary to celebrate,
it's an anniversary.
or dread.
It is a little bit terrifying when that date rolls around and you look at like your accomplishment list and you're like, am I where I
And then how many years pass by? And yeah.
How many missed birthdays and your bank account and all the yeah.
All right. So
So
how did your first set go?
pretty decent.
All right.
Pretty decent. I had practice, and for my first 2 years of stand-up, I practiced it like a theater kid, like a monologue. So like I would practice in the mirror and practice like being like, but I was super casual on stage still. But I would, because I'm a great actress, like, you know, perform through the nerves kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And like, but it didn't look performative, which was I'm thankful for. But I made a 3-minute set of I was new to town. I moved here from Minneapolis. I moved to Portland from Minneapolis, and I remember one of my opening jokes was something about how I did what any smart girl would do, a smart independent woman would do. Is I Wikipedia'd the city that I'm moving to, and I noticed that Portland has, or that Portland has like 0.8% white or black people. Or so I made some race joke about, I was like, Minneapolis is like 49% African American culture and Portland is like 0.08. And I was like, you're the legal limit of black people was the joke. And nothing. Crickets. And this is like before, Portland's a really progressive, but this was like 2012.
Okay.
2012. And so people were like, what the, excuse me?
And also at an open mic, you just expect all sorts of crazy. Not saying you're crazy, right. but anything like anything goes.
Yeah.
So.
And so that was the intro. I'm shitting on the city that I'm moving to, which isn't a good look, but it was a great joke. And then I ended on some story that I had about Obama being elected, and I was on a bus. It's one of those stories that I would always tell at the bar.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, we all have those in our back pocket.
Everyone's like, it's so funny. So that's what I used, and then I ended up using that joke for a really long time.
Nice. So you had a joke in the act that stayed for a while. Okay.
Yeah, and I got one big lift. It was like okay.
That's pretty good for the beginning too, because normally like I feel like you do your first set and you do those jokes for a little while, but once you get your feet wet and you become a little better as a comic, that first wave of original jokes are kind of out the window because you were so raw and so new.
Right.
And you had like jokes. You're like set a punchline for a lot of stuff.
Oh yeah.
And then you just get better. But if you had something you kept from the gate.
I researched. Like I treated it like I feel like I've cheated myself throughout the years. Like I've digressed in a way because those first 2 years, I was out the gate. I practiced an hour before getting on an open mic stage. Like I was like. It was a job for me from the beginning, and then I eased into. And then when I started running my own show for 4 years, that's when I eased into like writing on stage or riffing.
You got more comfortable.
I got super comfortable.
Yeah, absolutely.
But in the beginning, I was super rigid. Like not feeling wise on stage, but just practice wise.
Nice. So, all right, you did your first set. You said it went decent. That's your word. How'd you feel afterwards? Did you have this like a rush?
Cloud 9.
Because I had this rush for days.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was immediately just like, I said what I was going to do, and I did it, and I nailed it, and this is what I'm doing now. And I never looked back. It
was like, holy shit, in a way. You're like, it was like a rush I never experienced before.
Yeah.
So I was like, what?
Yeah.
Like, we're doing that again, I'll tell you that. Yeah.
Well, and I, again, not knowing anybody, I didn't go into it to try to make friends. Like, I was friendly with people, but I was the girl that was like...
I still have that mentality.
Yeah, I was that girl that, like, I brought my notebook everywhere, and I came in, to, I made sure to get to the open mic, sign up, and I used that leg time, before the list goes out, I used that time to write. So I was in the corner writing. So, like, people were probably like, who's that chick that just is new, so I was new to their scene. It's a small scene. So I treated it like a job from the beginning.
That's awesome. Now, when did you do your second set? Was it like right after the first set, or did a little bit of time go by?
Honestly, time went by. A lot of time went by, and I did improv.
I feel like that's fairly common that's very common for people to try once or twice, and then take like not a break because you're not in it, but not do it for quite some time before you dive back in.
Yeah.
And then for a lot of people, that second wave in is where they're like hooked and in.
Yeah. I actually had another unique scenario in that sense of I did improv too, and so because again, theater kid mentality. So I.
So you bounced all the way around. You had interest in sketch, and then you did stand-up and
Well-
improv, so you were covering all the bases.
Yeah, I was bartending at Old Town Brewing, and it was like a 25-minute drive across town, which was a lot back then, And I remember I was bartending because I quit that art job because it was too stressful. I quit that job, and I got a job quickly bartending, and then I worked there for like 6 months. And I still told people I did stand-up.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I was just like, yeah, I'm a comic, I moved to town, bartend, like, just a psycho. Just being a psycho. Just a psychotic behavior. And one fucking day, my coworker goes, oh, you're a stand-up. He's like, do you perform next door? And I was like, what? And he goes, there's a comedy club at the other end of this. Like, the building was an old Chevy car dealership that got divided up into storefronts later on in life, and we were one end cap of the brewery, and at the other end of the block of the end cap of the same fucking building was Curious Comedy Theater.
Oh, that's so
and I had
funny.
never walked to the other end of the block because I was like 25 minutes, this is the furthest I'm going north to work.
That's
and
hysterical.
at the end of the block is the comedy club.
Literally like an arm's reach away.
For 6 months, unbeknownst to me, because I'm an idiot.
But you're a comic.
But
I just air quoted that. Like,
but you're
so
a professional stand-up.
that's hilarious. I'm a comic. Do you perform next door? What's next door? Like,
Truly, exactly what I went on. And then the manager of that place would come in. He was like a regular. And so that day he came in, and it was a Sunday, and he goes, oh, do you want to do the open mic tonight? And I was like, well, now I fucking have to. You know what I mean? Like, sure. And so then that night,
pull out that 0.8% joke again.
yeah, did the whole thing, and I was on a stage. It was actually a stage, and so you couldn't see the audience. I was like, this is it.
Okay.
This is what I'm doing. And then I ended up working at Curious. I ended up doing improv there, and then one day, my improv coach, who's also a stand-up, he goes, his name's Gabe Digner, he goes, JoAnn, you're so much better at stand-up than you are at improv. Like, you gotta pick one.
Pick and choose? Okay.
And I was like, really? And it never really clicked. I thought I was better at improv. And he's like, no.
Wow.
You're better stand-up.
Well, that's cool. You had somebody you trusted, around to give you that honest opinion and steer you in the right direction.
Absolutely.
That's awesome.
And then it's history, baby.
And now that led us to
Appleton, Wisconsin.
Appleton, Wisconsin. Well, thank you very much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Where can we find you?
You can find me at JoJo Schinderle on social medias, please.
Do you have to spell that for people a lot?
Probably.
Because I didn't want to tell you to do that, but you probably should.
It's one of those debates where I've been thinking about a different handle forever, but people are like, it's your last name, and I'm SAG, and
it's your name, like, yeah.
Schinderle. Schinderle.
That's Instagram?
Instagram, Twitter, and my album Dark Jeans. You can find it on all of the places you find comedy albums.
Nice, and that was #1 on iTunes.
It was, thank you.
Congratulations.
Appreciate it.
All right, thank you for doing this, and maybe next time I'll ask you about your second set for 20 minutes.
Sure.
All right, thank you for listening. We will be back next time.
You've been listening to The Mesh, an online media network of shows and programs ranging from business to arts, sports to entertainment, music to community. All programs are available on the website as well as through iTunes and YouTube. Check us out online at themesh.tv. Discover other network shows and give us feedback on what you just heard.